boys. He needed a pair of steel-toe boots. I said, chip this brush, I'll buy you a brand new pair of boots. I'm not going to have the extra funds to do that if people get nickeled and dimed. We're looking at opening another business here in Hortonville. We're looking at buying commercial property, whether it be roofing, opening more storage units, etc. It's just one more cherry on top not to do that. New London offers incentives for businesses. They'll give you $4,000 towards a sign. They'll give you money towards commercial project, pocket park. New London Utilities will come run electrical, 150 feet for free. They've got it right. They just put up a brand new apartment complex. They're having 100 new apartments there. They sold that land, that 4 acres, for $1 to get that business in there because they know they'll get that money back. Let's offer incentives, not hindrances. Let's help these businesses hire people. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Well said.
Mary Ellen Algrim, 665 Commerce Street.
Hi, I'm Mary Ellen Ogrum with Ogrum Explosives, and we own a business in the industrial park. And I'm here to oppose also against a business license. I agree with everything that you just said, that we should be offering incentives, particularly for the businesses on Main Street that are going to be harmed during the street closures and the construction. For us, we want to keep growing. Where would this stop if we have a licensure? Are you going to tax the amount of employees that we hire? How are you going to tax it? You know, you say it's a license, but where does it go from there? Are you going to get into our personal finances? I don't know. So I'm in opposition. We pay $19,000 a year in property taxes. That's probably nothing compared to some of the bigger businesses. So I'm here to oppose it. I think we should also be offering incentives and look at encouraging small business and employment.
Thank you. Grant Crow, 224 West Main.
Hello, my name is Grant Kroll. I am new to Hortonville. My family's name is not. Kat Peterson, we own the Heritage Inn on Main Street. It's a bar, the old London Saloon. We spent a lot of time and a lot of our own efforts to renew and facelift that bar. As far as, you know, we're talking about renewing licenses every 6 months versus 1 year. And you guys might be struggling, where we're going to find the funds to do what we want to do. The last chief of police, I brought to attention 3 times, including Allegheny County Sheriff's Department, on the corner of between Hardtails and my bar, that stop sign, even down at the end of the bar, or at the other stoplight down by Otter Creek. There was a situation this past year where a young lady was struck on her bicycle because the driver didn't see her. There was actually 28 different recordings on my outside bar camera where people were running the stop sign down by me, speeding excessively down Main Street. My kids, my family walk across that street every day. You want to look someplace to fund what you want to do with Hortonville, I could see it justified with tickets. Easily. I mean, I've been here for what, 7.5 months? We've been here for 7.5 months, and I had 28 recordings on my outside camera of excessive speeding, lighting up their tires right on the Main Street. I don't know what kind of hefty fines follow behind that, but I'm sure you could find the funding that you desire in ticketing. Since I've been here, and no offense to the new chief of police, nice to meet you, I haven't seen Hortonville Police Department pull over anybody on the main drag. Ever. So that's a shocker to me, considering how fast they will go from one stop sign to the other. They will go from 0 to 40, 0 to 50, with no hesitation. Even with me outside yelling at them, slow the F down. So, the only reason I speak out in that specific situation is because if that was my child at that crosswalk that got hit, I don't know if I could compose myself, because there's plenty of time, ample time. That lady was over halfway across the intersection and that truck did not see her. So we need to look at more towards collecting the funds that Hortonville needs to do what we want to do, I think more towards the police department and offering fines and strict fines, especially through Main Street. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pat Munmo, 352 9th Street.
Thank you. I'm here just to speak about the proposed amendment for the Senior Activities Committee. I'm not sure if I'm reading it correctly or not, but confused. We have been an active committee for 11 years, and in the amendment it makes it sound like, you know, we're just kind of getting going, even though it says a nucleus. We have been going for 11 years. 4/24/14 was our first brainstorming session. We meet monthly. We're an active group. We aren't overseen by any village department, so we are determining the agenda every month. We meet, we have at least 3 activities a month. We collaborate with the library, with outside agencies. Activities are scheduled, like I said, at least 3 times a month, and there's a lot of work in between. If a village board trustee is appointed to the committee, that's great, because there always was one on there until the last year. But to expect that trustee to be the chairperson is asking a lot, I think, because it's a lot going on. We right now have 2 staff members that come to our meetings. Sarah from the library and Lauren Prochnow is our secretary. We have a meal site manager who's a representative, and then 4 village residents, including myself. Just concerned that the amount of work, there's no department head overseeing this committee or nobody to go to, although we do coordinate a lot with Nathan and the library and other departments. I'm very concerned about someone being appointed to chair that and the amount of work that it would be for that person. Thank you.
That's all.
Thank you. That's it? Okay, 7 committee reports, there are none. 8 unfinished business from previous meetings, there is none. 9 new business. A, discussion and possible action on appointment of citizen members of the commission. And who was up for planning and zoning, we are renewing Mike Belisle, Roger Retzloff, Tom Banker. The library board representative will now be Carrie Lathrop. And the zoning board of appeals will be Christina King, Deb Obrey, and Tom Banker are renewing their terms. And then if the resolution passes for the senior activities committees, Jane Oak would be put on that. If there are no questions, I would need a motion to accept.
I make a motion to accept the committee appointments.
Before we second that and vote, so we're going to talk about the Senior Activities Committee membership. Are we able to defer this vote until after that discussion? I mean, is that
Well,
something?
as I stated, if it passes, then Jane Oak would be the board rep.
But if it doesn't, then it doesn't obligate. I guess,
Correct.
how do we do that? I don't know. I never thought about moving this on the agenda, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd be fine either.
Okay. I mean, does a current Senior Activities Committee require a village trustee?
No, that's the amendment that's proposed to be repeated.
Okay, so if Jane is appointed to that committee and then we decide not to,
She wouldn't be a member of the committee.
she would not be a member of the committee. She would be a member of the committee.
If you guys decide to pass the repeal, she would then be a member of the committee.
Okay, and if we decide not to pass it, or we have changes, then the appointment right now would not.
Correct.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're not doing the cart before the horse kind of thing. Okay. Then I guess if we're able to not lock that into place, if we don't, then I guess it's okay to vote on that? And we can't just defer it for two?
I mean, if you wanna, you can add that into the motion that it's contingent on, the resolution R-925 passing.
That would make more sense to me. Are you able to amend your motion?
Sure, sure. We'll make it, I'll make a motion to approve the committee appointments with the, which one is this?
Senior Activities Committee.
With the
R-9-25.
With the, I don't know word that. Contingent upon the James appointment, contingent upon passing of R-9-25.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Discussion on creation of potential annual business license.
So, yeah, I know everybody else spoke, but Jody from Hortonville called me to express her opposition to the same thing, and she wasn't here to speak, and I can't get up in that part, so I thought I would pass it on to everyone that she called me. I think this is a bad idea. I think this is a horrible idea. I do like what the gentleman said about promoting business, and I know we're not as big a community, and sometimes we can't do as much, but I would make a suggestion that, because one of the things in your report here was, it would be nice, if we had a listing of the businesses and stuff like that, if we were to say something in the neighborhood of if any of the businesses want to self-report with the office, that we could list them in the mailing that goes out. So that way everyone would know what businesses there are in Hortonville that are available.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think for the most part we do get that. But I was trying to find charitable reasons for pros and cons as being as fair as possible. I don't disagree with your opinion on it. So it.
And this was just a resident that asked about it? Is it a business? A
Yes.
resident? Okay. So they currently have a business, and what did they see as the advantage? Because I don't
I
see
think they
much
were
an
just
advantage.
looking at it as a funding source potentially. I don't necessarily, outside of that.
I just feel like that's.
It's not a huge funding source anyway,
No.
and like I said, it's honestly more problematic, I think, also for my staff to try to, because if businesses don't pay, what, they're
How would
supposed to
we
go
police-
around
yeah, how would
door
we
to
be
door
able
and
to
ask
police
them for
this?
$25 or
Yeah.
whatever it is. It's just,
Okay.
I
it's,
also received an email from Kay Brick, and she asked me to read it. She said, I am emailing you this because I just received this letter about an annual business license that is going up to the board for review. First, as a business owner, we already pay the state of Wisconsin to have businesses annually. We also pay a property tax to the village annually. Why should we pay another tax? Second, if this really did come from a resident, how is that one person that has that much control to even take it to this point? I'm sure if someone really wanted to know what businesses were in Hortonville, they could take the quick 10-minute trip around the village. I am sorry to give this to you, but like I said, I just received this and I am very sick of being taxed because I own a business. Really, I am happy, never mind the rest. She was just happy, she was happy that I became president.
So Jeannie, she references a
Sorry.
letter. Did we send a letter out? Was
No.
there? No.
the reason there was no letter sent out is, this is for discussion, it was super preliminary. Any resident has the right to come in and ask staff to put something on the agenda.
Okay.
Typically, we try to talk them through it if it is.
But what letter is she talking about? Maybe.
I got
I
called
don't
from
know.
15 different business members yesterday, that was my day, explaining this.
Wow. Okay.
It was enjoyable, and I'm sure they were not feeling the greatest either when they were calling, so,
No.
yeah.
I mean, even if somebody didn't drive through town, they can look on Google Maps. Even home businesses, a lot of home businesses are on Google Maps, are listed, you
Like
know?
I said, for the pros,
Yeah.
I was looking at
Okay.
being charitable. Yeah,
Okay, so is this was just discussion and
Discussion.
creation?
just discussion, there was no
Just
action, because if
discussion.
there was action, most of the people, the conversations I had with the business owners that did call, I told them, most likely, if the board ever wanted to do anything further with this, they'd probably have me send each of you a letter to meet with us prior to ever passing a thing, because they want.
And there's no resolution or anything, so we
Right.
don't need to do anything official to extinguish this, is what you're saying? Except for the board looking at you saying, we're not interested. Or do you need a motion?
Or you just.
We can't make a
move
motion.
on.
No, there's no
Just
action.
discussion.
Okay.
So,
I mean, basically, you were presenting it to us
right,
because you were asked to.
But I do think that we
Yes.
should look for opportunities, as he mentioned,
we
for
have
ways,
those, so,
other
we
opportunities.
do offer facade loans, that are basically no interest for 5 years. And there is some other stuff that, might be happening now with Main Street too. So, we always try to work with the business as much as we can.
Just promote that, I guess, is my
Right.
point, as much as we can, where we
Yeah.
can.
One of the things that was pointed out to me, if this should ever come up again, is that even if you had the intent to use, if you were going to do a license, and then you had the intent to use it to promote Hortonville businesses, when Jody called me, she's like, well, if I pay for it myself, I get to write it off on my taxes. But if you tax me for it, now I'm just paying you, and I don't even get to write it off anymore. So businesses can already self-promote, and they can use those, whatever they have to pay as a tax deduction. So it really doesn't make any sense for us to do that.
No, and you could always do a business association as well.
Yeah.
And have them be completely.
And I think that's
That's
the
a better
best
idea.
way to
And
do
while
it,
we
because
have-
we don't
yeah.
want to be
Yeah, and while we have all these
distributing money.
businesses here, that would be a great time for you guys to network after the meeting to create some kind of business association too, because we had one. There used to be the Downtown Business Association, and I think it's disbanded since I've been on the board. But that would be, I think, a really great avenue for a lot of our businesses to network together.
Anything else? Okay, then we will move on to C, discussion and possible action on resolution R-8-25, no mo May 2025.
It was already in the village voice. Which, thank you. This has been something we've done, and I think there's some people who just do a section of their yard, people who do nothing, and then there's some people who just do this. Have you had any problems at all? Like the first week of June, trying to get people to mow their yards?
I think there's the usual.
Same one,
The
same
same
usual
ones, yeah.
suspect?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
nothing extraordinary or anything like that.
And we don't require a sign, but the signs are available if somebody wants one.
The signs are available here if anybody
We
wants.
still
them.
have, I think, 30 years, so.
Yeah, there's like
Eventually, I
lots.
think there's gonna be a point where we won't.
Yeah, I mean, they were given to me by the Lawrence, University professor. Otherwise, I'll make a motion to approve R-8-25, no more May for 2025.
I'll second.
Roll call, Jim?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. D, discussion and possible action on resolution R-9-25 to repeal the amendment to change the senior activities committee board membership.
This is a repeal to an amendment we put across, I think, last year. So that's why the wording sounds weird. It sounds like it's a new committee. It's because it's repealing it back to its old form from when it was created.
And why are we doing, I'm just curious, did something trigger that we needed to do this?
I was asked to add it to the agenda by a few board members, yeah.
So it looks like
I think they wanted to have some board representation, is my guess, on the board. I don't know if they necessarily wanted them to be the chair, but that's just how the wording was originally. So if that's something you guys want to alter, that's up to you as a board to figure out if you want to change that, or you can have it just be a board appointee and then anyone can be chosen as the chair. That's
Yeah, I'm not opposed to having somebody be part of that. Pat's been wonderful, that when you had, when it would be part of you know, other communication, but as far as making that person a chairperson, I think that's asking a lot. Cause that's really grassroots in that committee.
Does it say they have to be the chair?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which,
Like the third whereas.
Unless you change the
oh, the
wording,
third whereas, okay.
Yeah.
that's all you'd have to do.
Does that satisfy what you're looking for, Pat?
Yes, like I said, I was just very concerned about, because it is a lot of work that the committee does, and for a board trustee, I did call Jane earlier today and just alert her to my concerns, you know. So I think, in all fairness to, and full disclosure, I'm the chair right now, so I'm not trying to protect my job or anything, but it is a lot of work.
Yeah.
For
And the reports are always great.
pardon me?
The reports are always great.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
do a
having
good
a
job.
board member is great, but just asking to the chair,
Not have them be the chair would
that
satisfy.
the committee choose the chair, I guess
That's,
would be
yeah,
the best.
grassroots, yeah.
Well, I mean, even if you make them the chair, that doesn't mean that they run everything. It just means that, I mean, it depends on the person themselves. You can, I mean, Tom Banker is the chairman at the fire department meetings, and his duties as chair is he sends out an email and he reads the agenda like Jeannie reads it here.
I know, but
I
we're
mean-
forcing that committee to choose that trustee always as the chair, even though that trustee may not be able to even attend every single meeting. And like if you agree to it and the meetings are during the day and that person could only make, let's say, 75% of the meetings, I mean, that's not fair to that committee either. I just don't wanna force them to put that trustee as the chair.
I mean, that's what we always did before, right? I mean, this is before we repealed it last year, right?
I don't,
Wasn't that the case, Pat? Pat was always Pat, when she was on there, was always the chair because she was appointed by the board to be the chair.
and prior to Pat,
So do you
the
vote on
committee
it, Pat?
Yes, I was never appointed as chair by the board, we voted on it.
and prior to,
I was the board representative when I was on the village board.
and prior to you, if I remember right, it was Jeannie, right? Were you
Yeah.
chairperson then?
When I worked here, I was the
No.
village rep.
When you were on the board?
No?
I remember you being on that, but maybe it was right at that time of election. I don't remember exactly, but
So we weren't following it then, before?
I'm not sure.
Because if Pat was the board member, and according to this, she was the chairperson, supposed to be the chairperson too, but wasn't.
Right, I mean, it happens, especially in,
The small committees or whatever.
yeah, small committees like that, that's not necessarily, I mean, yeah.
Could this be, excuse me, a committee just like the Blackout Lake Association Committee, where I'm involved with it, but I'm not a chairperson?
Correct.
I'm just a member to report back to the board.
So we just basically would remove that as, we would have a village board rep and they would just get voted in, whoever the chairperson is would be
Right.
voted in by the committee.
Mhm.
So we would just change the wording and pass it tonight.
I like that idea. That's it. We've got some senior activities committee board members, or not board, but members here.
I can't speak for the whole committee, we didn't know about this, we had a meeting last week, but, I would assume they would prefer that it be chosen by the committee. Jane attended our last meeting, so we know that she's until approval.
And is that committee funded?
No.
Not
I mean,
at all?
well, sorry, I should, they get, I think, $150 is assigned in the budget. They pretty much fund themselves through our rideshare program and, donations they get for their, birthdays and potlucks they do.
They're
So
pretty self-funded.
we put a line item in there, but they usually come even each year, if not have extra.
Okay. I mean, I'm indifferent to whether or not it's the chairperson or not. I just was looking at it and said, this is how we always did it. And I assume Pat was placed there because of this, and there wasn't really a good argument to argue against it, but it doesn't really matter it doesn't seem like it matters that much as to whether you're the chairperson or a member. I'm a member on the fire department one, I'm not the chair. I'm a village appointee to go there.
But if it forced you to be the chair, you know what I mean, then you're forced to be the chair of that.
Yeah.
You know, and I think just that third, we could take that third whereas out, and it wouldn't change the committee. It lets the committee choose their own chairperson.
So then we need a motion with the changes.
I'll make a motion to approve R-9-25, the resolution to repeal the amendment to change the Senior Activities Committee board membership with removing the third whereas, which references the village board as a chairperson. And I think that covers it.
I'll second.
Roll call, Jim?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. E, discussion and possible action on resolution R-10-25, creation of JAG Lane.
This is basically creating the road Jag Lane that was donated to us. The name was demanded by the contract, to give us the land for it. So it's just what the attorneys had us draw up for actually renaming the creation of that road. Most roads aren't created this way. They're done when you're plotting something or, doing a subdivision, so it's a little different. So.
Any questions?
Where's the road?
It's
Construction access.
It's an access road on Wild.
That's
Gravel
little,
road right
the
there.
the gravel road and with the parcel that he gave us to get into Wildwood in the back way.
Is that always gonna be gravel?
Doesn't have to be. I think for now we were gonna leave it that way. In the future we can pave it. It gives a second outlet to a subdivision, so if there isn't something going on in that front area, residents still have a second way out at least, so.
are we obligated to put a sign up for it?
It's like a street sign?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just asking.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No,
Well,
I don't get
Obligated to put a
Because
street
they
sign
want
up.
to because it would come off of the highway.
Um,
Can we get one in?
No, not a stop sign, I meant a street sign that says,
I don't think they're gonna read them either.
Any other
Anything stolen?
questions?
no.
Okay.
Well, possibly, yeah.
No.
I mean, that's,
I've done it.
you know, okay.
We'll see.
We would need a motion.
That one snuck by us. I didn't see that one.
I'll make a motion to accept resolution R-10-25 for the creation of JAG Lane.
I'll second.
Roll call, Jim?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. F, discussion and possible action on Memorial Square engineering contract.
So this is for final construction-ready documents for the, basically the plan that was already approved by this board. When we got this, AIRS has some turnover going on right now, so the consultant that we were working with on that is no longer working for AIRS. And when the price came in, we found it to be a little higher than what we expected. So we had MSA look at it and also give us a quote for doing construction-ready documents for that same plan. Since with their familiarity with the downtown already and with the work they did on Mill Street. And their quote came in at almost half of what AIRS was. So I think I would recommend moving on from AIRS and using MSA for the final construction documents for this.
And I don't know if this is the right place.
Is that the one with the typo on it?
Have we,
No,
No, it's not that's not.
the one with the typo was the one we're walking away from.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
One where they had the wrong intersection.
Yeah.
so I know you were gonna get a hold of the Quinn family, right?
Yep.
Have they already worked with heirs, or are you kind of that middle person? I mean, is there any plans at all? No?
No, I've talked to
This is
them. They
just-
liked the design. They thought it was a great idea.
That's what I
That was
wanted
where it was.
to find out.
So,
Okay. So we're not,
yeah, we showed them a copy of the design of what we were thinking, and they were really excited for it. So, I think they didn't even know that there was one.
they didn't,
So,
yeah, they didn't know until I called.
Any Any other questions? Otherwise, we need a motion.
Is there potentially, so there isn't any sort of, I mean, because we paid separately for the design, correct?
For that
So there's
concept,
no, yes, the concept.
that contract's completed.
Right.
Okay, so there's nothing to come back on us to add in additional costs because they have to redo something? Okay, and what was the difference between them?
One was 50,000, one was 27,
Okay. And they fully encompass the same, okay. All right, that's all my questions.
Anything else?
So, I don't mind making a motion, I just need to make sure I have the right dollar amount here.
27.3.
Is it the 27,300?
Yeah,
Okay,
for MSA.
for MSA. Well, then I'll make a motion for the Memorial Square engineering contract for $27,300 for MSA.
I'll second.
Roll call, Jim?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. G, discussion and possible action on manhole rehab project.
So this is something that we had in our sewer budget for this year. We got 3 quotes. I put a revised quote from Summit actually in front of, on all of your desks, which basically just came in here yesterday. Well, it's basically what they already had in the packet. What Summit did though was switch some of the manhole numbers around so that they could basically attack our worst ones this year, so we can get those taken care of first. So it's the same number, they're still proposing to do 10 manhole rehabs, but they're going to tackle the ones that are leaking the worst right now, instead of just the first 10 out of the 20 that we gave them. So Summit's cost for doing 10 manholes is $25,000, and they also have a 10-year warranty on their materials. We got a quote from Visit Sewer, which they said they could do 6 manholes for $16,100, and then we got a quote from Aqualis, who could do 8 manholes for $24,984. So the cost per manhole is lowest with Summit, and the warranty is the best with Summit, as far as the 3 quotes that we got for this.
Are any of these on Main Street?
No.
They're all scattered throughout the village?
Yeah.
Okay. So nothing
That's going to be
nothing
replaced
that we're gonna be
anyway.
replacing in
No.
2 years?
No.
Okay.
This is to make what's there last a little bit longer until we can, our rotating projects get around to doing rehab on those. And it's a pretty substantial amount of water that can come in some of these, and that's clean water that goes to our treatment plant that we have to pay to process, whereas if basically what they do is line the inside of it so that it's watertight again, and that just cuts down on costs and volume that goes to our sewer plant.
Any other questions?
Have you looked at what the cost is for, like, the amount of leakage that we have versus the cost of the repairs? I mean, if you told me that it costs us, $2,000 a year to treat that additional water, because we didn't fix the manhole covers and they were leaking, and you wanted $2,500 per manhole to fix them, I would say it's probably not, it's not a great idea.
Yeah. No,
Because if they're leaking, it costs less than the repairs, then.
the leaking throughout our system costs us a substantial amount of money, and it does for every community. This is what a lot of communities are dealing with right now, just because of aging infrastructure. So like we're going around and replacing manholes or putting plugs in storm sewer manholes that are on our sanitary sewer to stop getting water from there. Relining pipes with our projects that when we do like Mill Street, that's taking out the old infrastructure that was cracked and having a lot of infiltration into it and replacing it with watertight stuff. And this is just kind of another step in that direction of sealing our sewer system so that we don't have to pay for that additional water and also helps us increase that capacity that we have for future extensions to our sewer system.
Okay.
You know, with like the
That
things
makes
that are
sense.
going on the Terrace Manor and things like that, because it's, again, water that we shouldn't have to be treating that we're no longer treating.
So we're talking like rainwater and runoff
And groundwater
Right.
infiltration for these.
and groundwater. So, well, how's the fixing the manhole cover and finished groundwater?
No, this is,
Okay.
this is the actual manhole that's down in the ground.
Okay, so we're not talking about the manhole
We,
covers.
that's
that we-
another
that we
step
see.
that we've done in our infiltration, you know, I process to try to tighten our whole system. This is actually the manhole that goes underneath the ground, and then the pipes connect to it. Any cracks in that will be sealed, so that water can't get into our system.
And doesn't water that would get into there also degrade, like, underneath the roads? And like, so like if you have a manhole that looks like it's sinking, you know what I mean, like all that?
Yeah.
A lot of times that's because
It
it's
could, it
leaking.
could wash, you know, sand and stuff away around it, so that you have less of a leak there.
So the term really is, so we're referring them as manhole covers, it's really the whole manhole unit.
Manhole unit, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And the capacity thing is a huge thing, because if during heavy rainstorms, if we're at 90% capacity, we have no more room to basically add in new subdivisions. So, currently, we should have a lot more room than we do, and reducing those down helps that.
Okay, all right. That's good enough explanation from you. Just wanted to make sure I understood, you know, that we're spending money on something because you have to process the rainwater anyway, right?
You shouldn't have to, you don't wanna have the rainwater in your system.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a stormwater system that's different, not connected.
Okay. All right.
Any other questions? Otherwise, we need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the Summit infrastructure quote in the amount of $25,000 for the manhole rehab project.
Second.
Roll call, Jim.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. 10, report of village officials. A, clerk treasurer, Jane.
And my report was in the packet.
Any questions for Jane? Okay, we'll move to B, director of public works, Aaron.
My report was in the packet. Construction on the playground and splash pad is continuing and should still be good for our opening day. And next week on Wednesday here, we will have two classes of third graders for our Arbor Day, Earth Day event, which we'll take them around our nature trail and talk about different things. And then we have a little bit different this year than in years past. In years past, we planted wildflowers with them, but this year they didn't have the wildflowers ready yet. So we have a couple trees ready that they're going to help us plant on the next Wednesday.
Any questions for Aaron? Okay, we'll move to C, police chief, Brian.
Reports in the packet. One note I wanted to make, I pulled some data today just for board's knowledge of our main Nash Street intersection and looked at accidents over the last 5 years. We were averaging about 7 accidents a year for the previous 4 years. In the last year, we had 1 accident at that intersection. Although it was a serious accident and the goal is always 0, you know, there has been a pretty significant reduction in accidents there. I will say we're just continuing to patrol that area and make stops. One of the things that was mentioned, and I will just note that, you know, a lot of times our officers, when they are enforcing those intersections, they're trying to make stops well outside of that area. So we try to stay out of that high traffic area just because
Less
otherwise.
distraction, I understand.
Right, and then it just congests things more. So I will just say we're working on extra patrol down there and trying to get folks to stop, so.
Thank
that's all.
you.
Any questions for Brian? Okay, D, library director, Ally.
I have nothing new since the last meeting.
Okay. E, attorney, Ashley is out. F, administrator, Nathan.
Talked to Brian Parker. I do have a report in the packet. I've been kind of in talks with Brian Parker about the Nature Havens property, along with a few other of the developers that are interested in that property. So hoping to try to get one of them to pull the trigger this year on it. Other than that, I did get an update from the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation. I applied for that small business grant last year, and we were told we were denied. They had some funds left over, and they basically said that we were one of the top candidates outside those awarded, and they wanted to start the process of underwriting that grant for us. So we looks like at this point we're going to end up being able to get those funds that we requested to create that program for the downtown. So there will be some more information to come on that. It will be ran through the economic development committee that we have. But yeah.
Any questions for Brian? Or for Brian?
No.
Excuse me. So the funding you're talking about is like, so new businesses or existing businesses want exterior facelifts, per se, like siding, roofing, funding for that.
Correct.
Are you talking usually?
Yeah, so I guess the process would end up being, there's gonna be an application that we're gonna send out to the businesses that would be allowed to do it, which is all the downtown businesses, basically. And there will be some criteria developed by the Economic Development Committee on what we're looking for, and to make it easier for those who are applying to know if they think they'll get some, or how much they should ask for, what's the max that they can receive. And then we'll have a time where applications will be submitted, and then they'll be graded, and the committee will choose which projects to fund. And it's a grant, so there's no payback structure for the.
Thank you.
Any other questions? We move to G, building permit report. There is none. H, any other miscellaneous topics for future discussion? Okay, we'll move to 11, communications and miscellaneous business. A, Black Otter Lake District News. Bob?
My report was a handout here. We just had our meeting on Tuesday, so I didn't get a chance to get it in the packet. But, nothing really major with it. We're still waiting for our feasibility report, which is being done here shortly.
Yeah, it's being worked on. They have to do additional sampling this summer before they can complete it. But yeah, they're working on it, and should have something this fall by the annual meeting.
And then just small repairs on the harvester and getting that out as soon as they can. And doing that, so.
Any questions for Bob? Okay, B, Hortonville Hortonia Fire District News. Jim?
So we met on the 9th of April, and there were just a few things. I handed out a little handout for everybody that had basically had our fire calls, and then the fire department budget. The EMS haven't gotten them to email me the budgets yet, so I only had a printed copy, and I didn't have with me a copy today, so if anybody wants to see it, I have it with me. There's a few things of note. The new truck got pushed back a couple of months, so it's scheduled for December 11th of 28. And they're working on an auto aid agreement with New London. They've been working on that for 4 years. There was some issues with getting that set up. If anybody's not familiar, auto aid makes it so that way when a call comes in, then the group that they have an auto aid agreement with will also be called out for anything that happens. Because we cover Hortonville and Hortonia, so like I believe like the meat plant everybody thinks is in New London, it's actually in Hortonia, right? So whenever there's a call for a fire, which they do occasionally get electrical fires and stuff like that there, Hortonville, because Hortonville and Hortonia Fire Department, we have to get the firemen to get to our station, load up, and then drive all the way out there. And if they can get an auto aid, which they have a number of auto aid agreements already, but the one with New London they're working on, if that occurs, then New London will also get dispatched to that fire, which means that they'll show up that much quicker. There are some places where New London can actually show up faster than we can, and there's some places where we can we can definitely show up faster than New London. It's also a big help if they have more than one fire going on or more than one call going out, and their department is busy, then another department that's close by that gets called automatically, they'll go out and handle the next call right away. The one other thing of note is that the fire department is, they need to update their jaws and cutter. Basically, I took it to mean the thing that they use to get into car wrecks and separate stuff like that. The one that they have is currently 13 years old, and they're looking to replace that. Approximate cost on that's going to be about $42,000, going to come out of their existing budget as far as the current planning is. The one that they're looking at replacing it is battery powered instead of like the hydraulic that I think the current one is, so they don't have to run cables and things like that. But they would keep the existing one as a backup. And I asked a few questions about it. The batteries are all waterproof, so they can actually, one of the things they can do is they can actually use the one that they're looking at getting underwater. So if something should happen and they need to, you know, so they're not limited by some of the current limitations that they have. They said the life cycle of them is expected to be about 20 years. I did ask them how much they paid for the current one, and we got the current one for free 13 years ago, and it was a demo unit from Pierce. So, good budgeting. I mean, free is a great price, considered $42,000 for a piece of equipment. Otherwise, calls are pretty much, fire calls are a little bit low, and EMS calls are right about average for this time of year.
Any questions for Jim? Okay, we'll go to C, Gold Cross Ambulance Run Report and News. It is in the packet. D, Hortonville Civic Association. Jane?
The circus is going to be moved from Miller Park, most likely to Alonzo Park, the field, next to Alonzo, I guess we call it. It won't fit in Miller Park. So it will be moved hopefully once Aaron hears back.
What are the dates for that?
June 29th.
Okay.
Oh,
It's 1 day.
1 day.
One day.
Two shows,
Just 1 day.
2 shows, 1 day.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions for Jane? Okay, we'll go to E, Senior Activities. It is in the packet. 12, Comments and Suggestions from Citizens Present. Is there any? Yes.
I just got a couple, and I'm here for the Better Ball communities, that's why I'm here. So you guys are looking possibly for some incentives for businesses. They can be small things that don't cost you anything. Like if you have a city dump where you take grass clippings, you take leaves, you take brush, someone has an outdoor services company, give them their first year for free. Normally it's a $10 permit, I don't know what this city is. Give them that year for free. If someone's opening a pressure washing business, give them a 1% deduction on their bill. You're still making money. They're doing business. Simple things like that. If a company buys an empty lot and they got to cut in a driveway, don't charge them the $50 to cut in their driveway. They need to get in there to work on it. They're already going to pay several $1,000s in building permit fees. They don't really cost you anything, but they're small. They're simple, but they mean a lot. These guys, they're looking at doing a facelift on their building. If you guys got a scissor lift that's sitting in a building somewhere for a week, let them borrow it. Just make sure they have it insured while it's there. It means a lot more to them than it does to you guys. That's all.
Thank you. Anyone else have comments? Okay, then we will move to 13. We would need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned at 6:51.